I'll show you how to shoot and edit photos just like these. I'm Erik Lysak and I love car photography. I'll show you my best tips and tricks to bring your car photography to the next level. But before that, let's discuss the gear that you will need and how best to use it. I'll be using my Canon R5 with a 16-35, which gives great flexibility in my wide shots, and also a 85mm prime. Using a circular polarizer filter gives great results in controlling the car's reflections. Getting exposure right in camera will set us up for success. Also, shoot raw so that we have more flexibility in post. Mess around with the settings and find something that looks good to your eye. I'll be shooting personally at f2.8 on my 16-35 and at f2 on my 85mm, which is wide open. I like that depth of field, it gives good effects. Also, keep your ISO as low as possible, which I will be also doing, so that there's no extra weird noise being introduced. Keep your shutter speed double the millimeters of your lens. So for the 16-35, I would be keeping 1/60th of a second, and for the 85, it would be at least 1/160th of a second. This is a basic rule in photography. It freezes any type of shake that could be present from holding your lens handheld. Today, as you have seen already, I am here in my garage where I work and fix the wrecked Miatas. This one was wrecked as well. I'll be using only the ceiling lighting, which will simulate something like going outside at night into a parking garage or under a spotlight. Except, well, there's way more lighting here, but you get the point. The most important element to keep in mind when taking photos of a car is that you're trying to highlight its details, body lines, and any other features that show the character of the vehicle. Also, how the car is positioned will add or take away from the final photo. Something small like position the wheels at 45 degrees so that they face towards the camera will add just that bit more of depth, which will greatly enhance the final product. Also, picking suitable locations, something like this where I have 3 broken Miatas, or 3 used to be broken, this one's already fixed. It adds that more character and is essential in car photography, finding suitable locations for the suitable car. If you can control your lighting, like how much there is and how bright it is, then mess around with it and see if you can create some interesting effects. Here I have ceiling lighting only, but they are unpluggable. So I'll go ahead and turn off all the side lights and only keep 2 light sections turned on right above the Miata. That should create a pretty interesting effect. There we go, it's much better. Now our focus will be forced onto the central white Miata with the central lighting, and I think it's a pretty cool effect. You can also use additional small lighting such as this MC Pro from Aperture, which can also do RGB colors, which can add a little bit more like accent colors in the interior of the car, or splash this on the back wall of your scene and add more depth to the shot. I will not be using it for this shoot though, but this is a very cool option that you can explore in the future. So it's time to start shooting. I'll start with making rounds, going around the car and taking photos of angles that I think look good in this setup. We have the front light, the 2 at the top, and it's giving us interesting lighting. Once you have captured photos from the exterior of the car, it's time to move on to the inside and capture some interior details. This car is equipped with a aftermarket steering wheel, which looks fantastic, so we'll be sure to capture that. Also look for any other little details like stickers, decals, any other modifications, or like beautiful parts that you think would look good in a photo, and capture them as well. Now that we have some shots to work with, let's bring them to the computer, load them up, and see what we can do with them in post. To get started, we need to import our photos into Lightroom. I'll be using Lightroom Classic. Once the photos have imported, go through them and find the ones that look promising. Head to the Develop tab and start with the simple correction and adjustments in the basic panel to get the image cleared up and look more like what you envisioned. You can also do these adjustments and corrections in the tone curve panel, but I prefer the normal basic panel. After that, do check that lens corrections are enabled for remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. This will remove green and purple fringing around the edges as well as the natural distortion that your lens has. For our first effect, we will add a small amount of texture as well as clarity. Look and see what looks good. Don't go too much on it, because if you add too much, it looks very amateurish. Next, we'll be controlling the colors that you wish to have and that you want to remove. The color mixer panel in the mixer tab has all the HSL sliders that you can play around with and find which is more pleasing. A new feature that Adobe added is color point. It lets you select a specific color in your background or foreground or anywhere else and manipulates its shift and saturation. This is very useful for removing color and attention from bright objects in the background as well as the foreground. Just go like that, and the red and orange has been removed and the background just looks down much more flat. You can use this to enhance or take away the distractions if you think they are not adding anything to the image. If you shoot outdoors and there's lots of bright green around, mute the colors and make them pop less. Also gives a very surreal look to your image as well. Once we have the image looking overall better than what we got from the camera, it's time to go to the masks area and select subject. And Lightroom is pretty smart, so usually does a great job at selecting the car, but we want to do some manual corrections to fix up its imperfections. Once you have manually tuned up your mask, we can now properly affect just the colors and parameters of the car. I usually add a tad bit more of texture and clarity just on the car. I think you're noticing a little bit of a trend here. Just don't add too much, but a little bit more is always good, and it usually looks very nice. The goal of using a mask around the car is to bring out details, such as we can add some detail to the wheels by lifting up the shadows. This is maybe a little bit too extreme of an example, but you see there is detail brought up and we can see the whole front of the wheel side. Adjusting this and tuning it to a proper degree so you have more detail showing while not showing stuff that shouldn't be seen. Like all things in photography, this needs to be done in moderation so that you have great results, but it also is still believable. At this point, the image should look much different than what we have captured originally. That was a lot. We learned the needed gear and how to use it, shot the photos and edited them so that they stand out. I am happy with how this how-to has turned out. If you are as well, then do leave a positive comment so I can make more of this content and we can all together become better at our crafts.